we enroll what's called groups, right? So you're an administrator, you have a learning co-op, and you want to enroll them with West River so that you have some legality. Well, what I see happening, I was just contacted by a lady in Colorado who leads up an ice hockey organization. And she contacted me and she said, you know, we've been offering this, getting the kids out of school so they can spend more time doing ice hockey. Now there's no school. So we're looking at forming a learning group, but we don't want to create a school. So what we want to do is have all these kids that are really interested in ice hockey be able to spend a lot of time playing their craft, you know, improving their craft, their sport. And we also want to offer some learning platforms. So can you be our school, right? So I said, yeah, that's what we do. Let us do what we do best so you don't have to create a school. And you can devote yourself to those kids that want to add learning stuff, whatever it is and however it is, to their love, their passion of ice hockey. And so what I see happening, just pretend there were no schools. What would it have been like? People would have gotten together and said, oh, you're an engineer. Can you come and do a course for these group of kids and teach them about engineering? Whoever's interested. And, oh, you're good at, sewing clothing. Can you teach these kids how to sew? And so it's kind of like what Galileo's doing online. But then you have people who come together in these pockets, right, for different reasons. And they're doing a kind of learning. They're choosing it for what's good for their kids. And there's even different platforms for each kid in the group, you know, to offer. And then we as a school are set up to enroll those kids and produce the transcripts or do whatever they need in that department. So I see that as something up and coming, whether kids go back to school or schools are going to be different. There's no doubt about it. And it might be more of the same, but the idea that they've been out of school and some moms have been creatively thinking about, well, maybe I can do something that is better for my kids, then what's going to happen? And I see these co-ops coming together and doing some really cool stuff. And my mind is just going like, wow, what if this became education of the future?
Yeah, Peggy, imagine a life with no school.
Well, look at how it was before school, you know? Right. I mean, in the United States, these kids in Massachusetts Bay Colony were marched off to school at the point of a bayonet, you know? I mean, that was compulsory attendance, the beginning of that.
That's the
But
violence.
when that didn't happen, the kids were out in the fields. It was agriculture. They were working. And when they had a chance, there'd be a little schoolhouse and they'd bring a teacher to come and teach them stuff, right? But that was what kind of a public thing. Before that, it was just tutors, right? And there were actually, people say, well, what about kids that can't afford it, the private schooling? I learned through my study that there were actually little like homes in the town where these usually women were having the kids from poor homes come into their home, and she was teaching them. It was philanthropy. It was all done voluntarily. So these kids were getting educated. And if we hadn't had this compulsory attendance, there would have been just amazing growth in creative solutions for learning. I can't even imagine. It just blows my mind as to what could have been. And if schools disappeared from the face of the earth, what learning would look like for children. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
Creativity would just explode.
I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. Well, Peggy, that's probably a great place to leave the interview. Thank you so much